Hello and welcome to another packed edition of Big Centre TV's film show. Well, coming up this week, we'll be meeting two men who are currently shooting a West Midlands-based movie which promises to put a unique spin on Oscar Wilde's story of Dorian Gray. We'll also be hearing from Lenny Henry, who returned to his black country roots. First, though, it's been 8 years since Timothy Oliphant's Hitman, that moody, mysterious gunman with a barcode tattoo on the back of his neck. Well, the genetically engineered assassin is back in Hitman Agent 47.
He's an engineered human being. Stronger. Faster. More intelligent than normal people. His name is 47. He's here to kill you.
Find the girl, whatever it takes. She is the key to everything.
You know why you're still alive? Because I chose not to kill you, but they will.
Why do they want to kill me?
We were part of the same program. They want what's inside our DNA.
Okay, untie me.
You're the same as me. So untie yourself.
Tell me how to make an agent.
You don't want an agent. You want an army.
47, you are a legend.
I'm better. Pretty crazy, huh?
He has subdermal titanium body armor.
An agent's advantage is not his body, it's his mind.
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna burn this program to the ground, and you're gonna help me.
Go!
Mr. Chairman, you know who I am.
Well, the balance of power switches backward and forward in this one, but you wouldn't bet on anyone getting the better of a man-made assassin with super intelligence and speed, would you? Also new this week is Straight Outta Compton. This is a musical drama with a real swagger. It opens in 1986 on the west coast of America, where a group of black musicians are searching for an outlet for their creativity.
I heard you've been spending a lot of time at your auntie house. How's the couch life?
Got my woman and my baby living there. It's hard, man. But you know, everybody can't do what you do.
Really, what I do getting played out, Trey. Where the money at?
Why you gotta be so ruthless, cuz?
I'll make a few changes.
Where you think you going? I'm just trying to get home.
That's my son. You need to get back in the house or I will ruin your life.
I gotta talk to my moms like that. You had the chance to change the situation. Would you take it?
Just hit that first beat hard. All right, you cruising down the street.
All right. Cruising down the street in my 6'4".
Hey, that was dope, eh?
You're listening to Compton's very own Ice Cube, Eazy-E, and Dr. Dre. I gotta tell you, you are witnessing history.
People are scared of you guys. You have a unique voice. The world needs to hear it.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
This is only the tip of the iceberg, gentlemen. What's going on? What do you have in that bag?
Are you kidding me?
You can't take that in the bus.
When I'm called off, I got a sawed off. Squeeze the trigger, your body's all hard off.
This song glamorize gangs and drugs.
Our art is a reflection of our reality.
You guys supposed to be somewhere?
These are artists.
Rap is not an art.
You cannot come down here and harass my clients because of what they look like.
I promise you, things gonna be different from here on out.
Listen, to be honest with you, I don't know anything about hip-hop, but I know that you're special.
You want to be involved with this gangster life? Here we go.
Speak a little truth and people lose their mind. This isn't the Crips and Bloods. This is a threat from the federal government.
They're trying to tell us what we can't play. This ain't NWA. Yo, Dre.
What up?
I got something to say.
We can keep going, man. We can take over the goddamn world.
Get a little gust of wind and on deck. Believe a memory, no one will be forgetting. So
As I leave, believe I'm starving, but when I come back, boy, I'm coming straight out of Compton.
This does come in at a fairly daunting 2.5 hours, but having said that, it's absorbing stuff which comes highly recommended whatever your musical tastes. Now, if you ask anyone to name the most famous person to come from Dudley, this man would probably be top of the list. Lenny Henry returned to his roots to promote his new drama, Danny and the Human Zoo. He's hoping he can use his production company to increase the number of black country-based stories on TV.
Danny and the Human Zoo is a fictionalised version of my life. If this is Earth 1, Danny and the Human Zoo takes place in Earth 2, where Danny Fearon is basically a version of me, and the Fearon family live in a version of Dudley in 1970s Britain. It's a story of a young black guy who grows up in Dudley, who he's funny, and his friends encourage him to go on stage at a talent competition at Dudley Zoo, and he wins that talent competition, and then he goes on to audition for a television program called New Faces, and he wins that. And basically, the structural part of it is very similar to my life, but I've made some omissions, I've changed things. Some characters say more than they did in real life. Some people say less than they did in real life. But I hope that it's entertaining and that it's funny and it gives people a flavour of what my life was like in those days. But a lot of it is definitely not what happened, but some of it is. And only the people who were there will know what's true and what isn't true.
Does race play a part in this story?
I think there's certainly a racial aspect of it. I mean, there aren't many countries in the world where a young black guy would be press ganged into being in a minstrel show. And when I was 16 years old, I unwittingly signed a contract that meant that I was in the Black Art Minstrel Show, not just for a short period of time, which the character in the film is co-opted for, but I was in the minstrels from 1975 to 1979. And it wasn't really till I was brave enough to say, actually, I don't want to be in this show, that I was allowed to not be in it anymore. Danny finds a very unusual way of escaping from his contractual obligations, and when you see the film, you'll find out what those are. But he certainly doesn't take a direct route. He goes around the houses, and also because this is the 70s, you do get a bit of racism that's similar to my life. Really, I didn't really fight every day, but at school, you could have found me most days rolling around in the playground with some guy who'd called me a name. I was called a name pretty much every day for a period of my school life, like a lot of kids are now. So racism played a big part in my life, and it was only until I learnt how to be funny, to deflect it, that actually it stopped. Once I'd learnt to laugh at that stuff and to make a joke about it, suddenly it all stopped. And suddenly people wanted to be in my gang because I was the funny one. They didn't want to be on the side of the guy who was the idiot. So, you know, the racism stopped.
In recent years, you've been very vocal about fair representation of minorities in the media. Will that be reflected in the film?
Well, we have a London Nigerian director, we have an Afro-Caribbean editor, we have a Afro-Caribbean lead actor, and we have a British black screenwriter. So I think that's a very small step in the right direction. I mean, obviously there's still a lot of work to do. This is the beginning of a conversation we're having with the industry, and I hope that people will support us as a piece of work, but also support future work where we're trying to do diverse things with crew as well as cast. It's very hard, and until really the people who choose what programs get made and choose what gets produced and choose what gets greenlit, until those people are diverse too, you're not going to see a change.
The film was shot and will be premiered in the Midlands. How important was that for you?
It was really important that the film be shot in the Midlands and premiered in the Midlands, because I've done things that were set in the Midlands, and somebody would always say, we could shoot this in Amersham, because Amersham looks a bit like the Midlands. But with this film, I knew that unless there were bits of it that were shot in Dudley, I'd be very disappointed. So, you know, there's no replacement for the parks that we've got in Dudley and for Dudley Zoo and for Dudley High Street. You know, there were some areas that were shot in Birmingham, but quite a lot of it was shot in Dudley, and I'm really glad about that. And to have the red carpet in Dudley, to have a premiere in Dudley, you know, it's very, very exciting. And it's made me think, oh, maybe we should make more things. You know, Martin Scorsese's got Little Italy. We've got Quarry Bank. This is what it's all about. Let's make things that represent the Midlands like that. The next film set in Wednesbury. Woohoo! Let's go!
After the break, a last chance to see Brummywood's old stripy set as the talk turns to Dorian Gray. Welcome back. It's time now to look at another of the many local filmmaking projects taking place right here in the West Midlands. This film is called The Dark Reflection of Dorian Gray, and to tell us more about it, we're delighted to be joined by two members of the crew, director Colin Cooper and also actor and producer Cameron Moon. Thank you very much, gents, for popping in, because you're right in the middle of shooting, aren't you, right now? Right in the thick of it.
Thick of it is one way to describe it, yes. Yeah,
Tell me,
absolutely.
there's a really interesting story behind how you've got to the point of even making this film, isn't there? I mean, tell me the roller coaster that happened before you started shooting.
Well, I've never done anything like this before, at all. I've done some work in local amateur theatre, I've done some local amateur filmmaking, and a good friend of mine came along with, he got this script, sort of basics of a script for a very short film that he wanted me to direct. And I don't know why he chose me, apart from I'm a bully, perhaps, you know, and I can get people to do things. And I read the script, I liked the concept behind it, but I wasn't over enthusiastic about the script itself. I didn't like any of it, actually. But I thought I can do something with this, you know. I got the bug by then, I wanted to direct something. So I thought, yeah, why not?
Because it's complete, because your background's in sort of acting in musicals.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Musical theatre, musical theatre, love it.
And then from that to directing a sort of gothic Jekyll and Hyde type drama.
Yeah, but I watch period dramas. You know, if I do switch the TV on, I tend to go for period dramas or sort of more gothic feel films, horror films, and that type of thing. So I'd sort of and I read plenty of books, you know, like Bram Stoker's Dracula and books like that. So I sort of always got that as a background, that I knew how a story should hang together, and this script just wasn't doing that. But I liked the idea behind it. The idea was that it wasn't yet another bad remake of The Picture of Dorian Gray. It was taking the concept of this ageless person and setting them in 1960. I don't know why the original screenwriter decided on 1960. It was 1960s London. But I thought, well, yeah, 1960s London could be quite fun.
I'd say, to be fair, it's a happening place to be, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, but then I thought there'd be too many parallels with Austin Powers. Everyone was expecting that comedy moment that I just, without having any experience in it, I didn't feel comfortable writing anything like that. So I thought, let's put it in 1960s Amsterdam. If you want somewhere where it was really happening, Amsterdam, because in 1960s, yes, they'd still got all the drugs, they've got the legalised brothels and all that, so that was a very exciting place as far as sort of art and culture concerned. But you'd also got the uprising of the provos and the backlash against the royalty. There was a big fuss and demonstrations against the marriage for the Princess Beatrix at the time. So there was a lot of things going on within different quarters. The working class were revolting, as they always are. So I just thought 60s Amsterdam was really exciting. But I also wanted him to draw in references to the picture of Dorian Gray, rather than just using the name Dorian Gray, where everyone's expecting it to be as the book, as Oscar Wilde's story. Yeah. I thought, well, let's reference it, let's have flashbacks to that, and put him into a situation where he's almost immortal and he's still having this battle going on with his inner self. So our story now starts off just before the end of the last chapter in Oscar Wilde's book. So before he destroys the painting, which in the story ultimately destroys himself, he merely damages it, and then he's taken away by Lord Wootton, and they go off on this quest.
I'll tell you what, let's have a little look.
And is Dorian Gray very fond of you?
He likes me, Harry. I know he likes me. Of course, I flatter him dreadfully. I find a strange pleasure in saying things to him that I know I'll be sorry for having said. As a rule, he is perfectly charming to me, and we can sit in my studio and talk of 1,000 things.
Mr. Dorian Gray is in the studio, sir.
Ask Mr. Gray to wait. I shall be in a while.
Now then, Cameron, we met 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were on the set of the House of Screaming Death.
So we did indeed.
Do I take it then that you're a man who likes your dark, mysterious, gothic-y horror?
I do, but I think these just sort of appeared sort of next to each other, I think, offer-wise. I think.
What's your involvement in this project then?
I'm producing as well as starring in as the painter Basil, who does the original portrait of Dorian, but I appear in the flashback scenes. So it's Dorian reminiscing, I think, and looking back.
And I guess now then you're at that exciting stage of getting the story together, then looking for locations to match the exciting parts of the story. How far are you spreading your net?
Well, we've been down as far as Bath. A lot of the story, a lot of the flashbacks to the Edwardian period is supposed to happen in Grosvenor Square, London. So I went down to Grosvenor and have a look around, and a lot of it's changed down the one side. The main issue there is the double yellow lines, the no parking signs against every railing, and all the Aston Martins lying around. So we found places around Birmingham that don't have that.
Don't have Aston Martins?
Don't have Aston Martins, no. The odd Mini on bricks, but no Aston Martins. But there's still a lot of Edwardian buildings around in Birmingham. And one of our latest quests for locations, we're looking for somewhere for one of the first murders in the story, because we tied in a lot of the unsolved murders from around London and a lot of the Ripper story, because obviously nobody knows who the Ripper was, so he's almost as fictional as Dorian Gray himself. So we're looking for like cobbled streets or cobbled yards where we could commit murders in the rain.
So you go to somewhere and you pinpointed a location, you think this is just the job, and then you have to sell it. Like you say, you're good at bullying people, persuading people, cajoling people. You have to, presumably you'd sell it to me. I own a location, and I say, yeah, okay, you can use my location. What's it being used for? When you tell them it's going to be used for a series of gruesome murders, what sort of reaction do you get then?
You get a mixed reaction. It depends on the person's personality, and you can weigh that up when you're talking to them, really. But a lot of them just want to be involved in film. And they don't care what their involvement is. They don't, they're not. There's no insistence on them being in the screenplay at all. They just want to be involved. And you find that the people that are involved then get involved in other people's filmmaking as well. There's a real support in the community for it. So you find a location, it might be a cobbled street, it might be the upstairs room of a pub that's not being used, or we're after a loft space at the moment. And you get talking to people, it's all about networking. Yeah. And you find people who've got these locations, and then they'll tell you a friend who's got another location, and then they'll tell you about someone who's got a vintage car, if you want a vintage car in it, and it just snowballs, and we end up with more locations than we need.
Which is a good position to be in, isn't it?
It's nice, but the story keeps growing because I keep seeing locations and thinking, I could use
you know,
that.
you've got a 5-hour cut that you've got to edit back.
Yes.
So Cameron, then, where are we at with making the cast so far?
We're going to be auditioning next week. We're just putting together a sort of a rota, as it were.
And so if people want to find out more about the concept, the production, any auditions you've got going on, or how they can get involved, where do they go? Who do they talk to?
We're going to be, I'll be setting up a Facebook page, also a Internet Movie Database page as well. But I mean, down the line, we're going to hopefully set up a website for the film as well.
So there'll be plenty of opportunity if people are interested.
Absolutely.
Over the next 3-4 months, really, then while you're putting things together. Have you got a release completion date in mind? I know it's tempting fate, isn't it?
Next September, September 16.
And then what? Obviously, you're looking at feature-length production, aren't you? So, what's the plan? Maybe tout it around some festivals.
Yeah, we'll hit the festival circuit with it, and then we'll see where it goes from there on distribution-wise.
Excellent stuff. Well, listen, great to speak to you. Good luck with the project. It sounds like an ambitious first movie project, I have to say, but a load of fun.
If you're going to do it, you might as well do it properly.
Absolutely right. Good way to end it. Thank you.
Cheers, Carl.
That's it for Brummywood, Yammywood for another week. If you're involved, though, in the film business and you're either making a movie or acting in a movie, or you've got a location and you want to share your story, don't forget you can drop us a line. Send us an email to movies@bigcentre.tv. We'll see you again soon.